Okay, good afternoon. Today we have a double feature, but there's no popcorn. First year is called Amalek, how to make enemies and influence people.
I do that.
And quarter to four we have another shiur, Esther, is sin a virtue? But right now we're speaking about how to make enemies. The shiur is Refuah Shlema, Yehuda Chaim, and Esther Sarah, Refuah Shlema, and Leila Nishmas, William and Helen, Rochel Bas Yosef, Dov ben Avraham, Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Fred ben Richard, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avram ben Mordechai David, Ruben ben Shmuel, Shoshana Bas Elchanan, Shua ben Shmuel, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Rochel Bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zalman Lei ben Moshe, Chaim Elia ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, and Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Why are we fasting today? Now, Esther didn't fast today. If you look in the Megillah, Avi, Esther fasted on Pesach. Esther fasted on Pesach. So why are we fasting today? There's a little confusion there. Well, if you look in Rashi in Pashas B'Shalach, Rashi says in biblical times when Jews went to war, Nechama, what did they do? They fasted. Rashi in Pashas B'Shalach, Exodus 17, when the Jews went to defend themselves against the Amalekite terror attack, Rashi says the Jews fasted. So, on Ta'anis Esther, what happened? The Jews went to war. They defended themselves, and they killed out 75,000 Amalekites. So that was when? 13th of Adar, Ta'anis Esther. So that's the reason that we fast. Because the Jews went to war, and in biblical times when the Jews went to war, they fasted. So the 13th of Adar, the Jews defended themselves against the Amalekites, and we killed out 75,000 of them. I think the UN was not too happy about that. So that's the reason we fast. So the question is, why did the Jews fast when they went to war in biblical times? Rashi, why? What's the connection between fasting and Teshuvah, right? The Rambam says all of our fast days, not just Yom Kippur, are meant to induce us to do Teshuvah. What is the connection between what? Teshuvah and fasting. So, according to the Zohar, very interesting. The first sin that a human being ever committed was don't eat. God said, don't eat that treifa tree. That tree is treifa for you. So the first sin a human being ever committed was what? Was eating when Hashem said what? Don't eat. So the Zohar says that's the granddaddy of all sin. If Adam and Chava would not have eaten that treifa tree, no human being would ever do any other sin. So all sins are a result, I don't want to use the original sin, but of that first sin of what? Of eating when God said don't eat. So all of the sins are just an outgrowth of that. So therefore, says the Zohar, if you want to do Teshuvah, you got to go back to the granddaddy of all sin, which is what? Don't eat. God said don't eat that treifa tree. So somehow, Teshuvah and what? And fasting are connected. By fasting, it helps us be metaking the sin of Adam and Chava, which was eating when God says don't eat, the original sin. Now, what has it got to do with me? I'm not Adam and Chava. Am I? But we all have Adam and Chava's DNA. DNA stands for divine natural ability. Right, Maddie? We all have Adam and Chava's DNA, and we're all part of them. Spiritually and physically, we're all part of their neshama. So therefore, somehow, by fasting, it induces us to what? To do Teshuvah, to go back to the first sin. Now, one explanation. Another explanation of why we're fasting today, that's a tikkun for what we did on Purim. On Purim, we went to the feast of Achashverosh, where I don't know if the food was kosher or not, but the entertainment certainly was not kosher. Entertainment was not kosher. We had no business going there. He was mocking the Jewish religion, masquerading as what? As the high priest. One of the reasons we masquerade on Purim, because Achashverosh was masquerading as the high priest at that drunken orgy feast. So we sin by eating and drinking. So what's the tikkun? Don't eat and drink. So somehow, by fasting, we're metaking the sin of what the Jews of Shushan indulged in an illegal, immoral feast, so therefore we're what? We're fasting. Okay? But on a deeper explanation, the eating and drinking on Purim is a tikkun for the eating and drinking at the wild orgy. There are two ways to atone for sins of eating and drinking. One is to fast. Don't eat and drink. Because you sinned with food, don't eat that food now. A higher level, says the Ari, is to eat. But to eat l'shem shemayim. To go to a kosher party where the food is kosher, the entertainment is kosher. So the tikkun comes from the chet. So we sin by eating and drinking. So now nechama, we eat and drink and do it my way. So we're fasting to be metaking the sin of what? Of the Jews of Shushan. And we're also eating on Purim. Because in the Yahadut, the tikkun comes from the chet. Therefore the Medrash says, Yavai Zov Shebe Mishkan, Yechapra Zov Shenasa Bo Egel. God didn't need a golden calf. God didn't need a golden lovebirds and a golden Mishkan. Right? But we sinned with a golden calf, so God says, take gold and do it my way. Now make golden statues in the Holy of Holies. God needs golden statues in the Holy of Holies. But they were there. Why? We sinned with golden statues, so God says, now take the golden statues, but do it my way. So the tikkun comes from what? From the chet. The tikkun comes from the chet. In fact, the Real Kodesh says, even on a higher level, the Gemara says, Ein kiddush elo mukam sudah. So halachically, the Gemara Psachim says that when you're going to a kiddush and you hear kiddush, in order to yaitze, you have to have a sudah. You can't just hear kiddush, you have to have a sudah. So the Real Kodesh says on a higher level, Ein kiddush mukam sudah. If you want to gauge someone's kedusha, how does he behave at a sudah? How does he behave at a feast? You hear that? Now, Yom Kippur, everybody's fasting. Everybody's fasting. You're tired, you're hungry, you don't smell so good. Even if you wanted to sin, who would want to sin with you? You don't smell so good, you ain't got the koach, says the Ari. But on Purim, when you're indulging, Ein kiddush el mukam sudah, when you're indulging in food and drink, and you still have kedusha, that's the real measure of a person's kedusha. And therefore the Zohar says Yom Kippurim, very strange. Yom Kippurim, that Yom Kippur is Yiddish, but it always says Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippur is a day like Purim. A day like Purim. Let's think about it. A day like Purim, on Erev Yom Kippur, what do? The mitzvah to feast. The day before Yom Kippur, what do? We feast, and then we fast. On Yom Kippurim, on Purim, v'nahapachu. What does nahapachu mean? We turn the tables. Instead of first feasting and then fasting, like you do when? On Yom Kippurim, on Purim, a day like Purim, first we what?
We
fast, and then we what? Feast. So that's v'nahapachu.
Why is it that we
You turn it upside down.
do it beforehand? It's the only holiday we do, because usually we put it off in case Mashiach comes. Here we're doing it in advance. She will come and we fast for nothing.
Yeah. So anyway, Ta'anis Esther serves as a sobering reminder not to indulge in food and wine for the wrong reasons on Purim. Ein kiddush el mokam sudah. If you want to gauge a person's kedusha, how does he behave when he's loaded? And he's, does he act like a Jew, or? That's the $64 question. So in a way, Purim is even a greater measure of a person's kedusha than Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim, a day when you're totally separate from all what? Physical desires and pleasures. You're sitting in shul all day and davening. That's no trick to be an angel, says the Ari. But when you're indulging, and yet you remember that you're a Jew, on Yom Kippurim, that's a true test of what a person's kedusha. Ain't kiddush ella b'mokoim sudah.
You don't behave badly after you.
Nochon. Now, why do we call it Megillat Esther? Mordechai was also a hero over there. No?
Yeah.
Why not Megillat Mordechai? What am I, chopped liver? I mean, women's lib. Megillat Esther. Mordechai also had a hand there. If you look at the Megillah, they both wrote it. It says they both wrote it. Ladies first, okay, but it should be called Megillat Esther and Mordechai. How come it's just called Megillat Esther? Well, Megillat Esther on a deeper level means legalot et a Hester. Legalot et a Hester, to reveal the hidden one. Esther hid her identity. Who was she symbolizing? That he also hid his identity. Legalot et a Hester. We have to uncover the hidden miracles and mysteries found in the Megillah of our own personal lives. Otherwise, why didn't read the Megillah 2,400 years later? All of us are writing Megillat Esther. All of us wonder, God, what are you doing to me? Why have all of these? Well, Esther, when she was taken to the palace, she said, Eli, Eli, lama zaftani. My God, why have you forsaken me? Can't you find another way to save the Jewish people? I have to submit myself to that pagan drunk. So we all have questions, and we don't know. So Megillat Esther, legalot et a Hester, each and every one of us is writing his own Megillah, with all the twists and turns, seemingly random events. It looks like a mikra, right? Therefore, Manishtana Megillat Esther, it's the only Megillah you read twice. There are 4 other Megillahs. Koheles, you read on Sukkot once. Eicha, you read what? Teshuvah once. Shir Hashirim, you read what? Pesach once. Ruth, you read what? Shavuos once. Manishtana Megillat Esther, that you don't read it once. Once is not enough. Who said that? You read it twice? Why? You got to read it once. Then you got to sleep on it, mull it over, and read it again. Because when you read it once, it looks like a mikra, like a string of coincidences. Only when you sleep on it, you mull it over, and you reread it, you see what looks like a mikra is actually Rakmei Hashem. Rearrange the letters, Mem, Kuf, Rei, Shei, Avi, you get Rakmei Hashem. So you got to read it once is not enough. Right? That's all of our lives. We have this Megillah. We don't understand what's going on. It's hard to connect the dots. You know, we read the Megillah in 40 minutes, but it took 9 years when Esther won the beauty contest till Haman was safely swinging on the tree, was 9 years later.
Wow.
No way to connect all the dots. Only looking back. Our tafkid as Jews is to connect all the dots and realize that what looks like a mikra is really what? Rakmei Hashem. Rearrange the letters. Our mission in life is to unmask Hashem and see His guiding hand in what? All of our affairs, just like in the Megillah. We're all writing our own Megillah. All writing our own Megillah, all of us. Right? Now, why do we wear a mask on Purim? To emulate the big boss. Avigad is wearing a mask. The mask is called Hateva. How do you say Elohim? The same gematria as Hateva. God is hiding behind the mask of Hateva. How do you say that in English? Nature, which is gematria Elohim. So, Velachta B'drachav, Yom Kippurim, the holiest day of the year. We have to emulate God. God wears a mask. His mask is called nature. But He says, peekaboo, what? I see you, right? Hide and seek. Look behind the mask. To emulate Hashem, we also dress up in disguise. That it's all a disguise. It's a game. Yochanan, God plays a game with us. He hides behind the mask of nature, and therefore in Hebrew, Hateva is gematria God. That's very interesting. Purim, the great cover-up. It's very strange that we name a cake after Arafat. I mean a Hamantash. Arafat cookie? Would you call a cake after Hitler? Now, it's very strange. According to Bnei Yissaschar, my great-great-grandfather, eating hamantash also has meaning. A hamantash, it's covered with dough, but the jam peeks through. Right? Why? Either let all the jam peek through, or it should all be covered with dough. What's the significance, says Megillat Esther? Hope he's proud of me. That my great-great-grandfather, Pikabala, Hashem plays peekaboo with us. It's covered up like the dough. But on Purim, Nikimia, the jam peeks through. On Purim, God removes his mask a little bit, like the jam is a little bit revealed in the dough. But then, naming a cake after Haman, after Arafat, or Hitler, is very strange. Well, the Gemara in Megillah 14 says that Haman was actually good for the Jews in a bizarre way, that what the 48 Nevi'im could not accomplish, the 48 Nevi'im rebuked us, Yochanan, and went in one ear out the other. We were about to assimilate totally into what? American culture, Persian culture. Totally assimilate. What prevented the total assimilation of the Jewish people? Haman. Bizarre. We owe Haman our existence. If it wasn't for him, the Jews would have totally assimilated, intermarried 2,400 years ago. So in a bizarre way, we owe our existence to Haman. And therefore we name a cookie after him. Arafat cookie. Hamantash. Very strange, right? Very strange, right? We give him covet, right? So in a strange way, Haman is good for the Jews. So then when the Jewish people are about to what? Like in Germany, about to assimilate completely, you know that Rabbi Simcha Midvinsk, he wrote the Meshech Chochma. He says something incredible. The Meshech Chochma, you can pass it b'chukotai. He wrote that in 1902. Surely, who heard about Hitler in 1902? He writes something, I don't know if it was a Navi. He says, those Jews who say Berlin is the new Jerusalem, that's what they said in Berlin in 1902. We don't need Jerusalem. Berlin is the new Jerusalem. We are Germans before Jews. Meshech Chochma writes in Pasha B'chukotai, talk like that will bring a Shoah on Am Yisrael. I think he's the first one to use that. So Nebuch, Jewish people, right? Anti-Semitism in America today. The Jews are getting too comfortable in Borough Park and Lakewood and Teaneck. Right? They think they belong there. So anti-Semitism in the United States, people are freaking out. What's going on? What's going on? When Jews get too comfortable in Teaneck, New Jersey, and they think they belong there, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to send them a reminder. Anti-Semitism, that you don't belong in America, just like you didn't belong in Germany or in Persia. Don't get too comfy, too cozy. We belong in Eretz Yisrael. Amen. Now, the name of the shir is Amalek, How to Make Enemies. It's a painful shir, and I hope you don't throw any rotten tomatoes at me. Therefore, I made the source sheets, Rabbi Abraham, okay? Amalek, how to make enemies and influence people. Now, before we get to the source sheets, you have it. Esther chapter 4. It's not on your sheet, Avi. We're not up to the sheets yet. I'll tell you when. Esther chapter 4 says, Vayikra Mordechai begadav. When the final solution came down in Shushan, Mordechai tore his clothes. Vayizak za'aka gedola umara. He cried with a loud and bitter cry. Says the Medrash Rabbah something incredible. Za'aka achat. Hizik Yaakov Esav. One cry, Yaakov made Esav cry. When he stole the blessings from him, it says in Pashas Toldot, Vayitzak tza'aka gedola mara. The same exact words that it says in Esther 4. Vayizak za'aka gedola mara. Mordechai cried with a loud and bitter cry. In Pashas Toldot, the same words when Esav discovered that Yaakov had what? Stolen his blessings. It says Vayitzak tza'aka gedola mara. He cried a loud and bitter cry. Same words. Says the Medrash Rabbah, because Yaakov was Mitzayer Esav, and he made him cry a loud and bitter cry, Nifra loy b'Shushan. So God paid him back centuries later in Shushan. Lamdecha she'ein vatranut lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Midah keneged midah. Yaakov made Esav cry out a loud and bitter cry when he stole the blessings. Centuries later, a descendant of Esav, who? Avi. Haman, caused a descendant of Yaakov a loud and bitter cry. The Zohar goes even further. The Zohar says that Mordechai was a Gilgal of Yaakov Avinu. You hear this, Yehuda? Mordechai was a Gilgal, a reincarnation of Yaakov. So Yaakov caused this tsar to Esav, a loud and bitter cry. Centuries later, Yaakov was reincarnated as Mordechai, and the descendant of Esav caused Mordechai, i.e., Yaakov, Midah keneged Midah. I think it's called Payback time. Incredible, Medrash Rabbah. Payback time. Ein vatranut lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Midah keneged Midah. Now, there's one slight change, Mekima. In the Megillah it says, Vayizak za'aka gadola mara, with a zayin. In Parshas Toldos it says, Vayitzak za'aka gadola. Instead of a zayin, it's what? A tzadi. So if you ask any Ulpan teacher, tell you it's a synonym bun. Vayitzak, vayizak, cry, cry. But there are no synonyms, Sarah, in Hebrew. Why does it say by Megillat Esther, Vayizak za'aka, with a zayin? With a zayin in Megillat Esther, don't mix me up. Vayizak, and that's payback for Esav, Vayitzak za'aka gadola. Parshas told us by Esav, it says a tzadi. In Parshas, in Megillat Esther, it says with a zayin the same word, Vayizak, Vayitzak, Za'aka, Tza'aka. There are no synonyms in Hebrew. Says a great Vaslaveitchik Zatzal. Vayitzak with a tzadi means you cry for yourself. You're not trying to influence anybody. You're not trying to convince anybody. So Parshas told us, Esav couldn't care less about anybody. He was crying what? For his own personal pain. That he got swindled by his brother. So it says, Vayitzak tza'aka gadola, with what, Sarah? With a tzadi. But in Shushan, centuries later, Mordechai vayizak za'aka, with a zayin, says the Rav Soloveitchik. With a zayin, za'aka means what? You're not just crying for yourself. You want to get others involved, that they should also cry to cancel the evil decree. So vayizak za'aka, Mordechai, the Gilgal of what? Of Yaakov Avinu. He stuck it to his brother. God has a long memory. Comes back as what? As Mordechai. But he doesn't just cry for himself. He's crying to induce the Jewish people to cry out to Hashem to cancel the evil decree. And it worked. Because a tfilas tzibur cannot be rejected, Nechama. A single person can cry to Hashem and God will reject him, but a tzibur. So therefore, the Yizak za'aka, with what? With a zayin. But I don't understand, Yaakov had to obey his mother. You know, how you allowed to fake out your father and lie to your father? So, you know, your mother said, go swindle your father. You allowed to listen to him? One of the seven, Yaakov kept the Torah. Dishonor your father. So Unkelus deals with that. She says to her son, listen to me, or lie. Unkelus says, it Amar b'nevuah. It Amar b'nevuah, says Unkelus, Rivka told her son, I'm telling you b'toras novi. If a novi tells you, dishonor your father in a one-time deal, if a novi tells you, be mechal Shabbat. As long as he says it's hara'at sha'ah, how do you say that in English? Temporary injunction, you must listen. If a Navi says from now on we're dishonoring our father, from now on we're Michal Shabbat, he's a Navi Sheker. But if he says, Harat Shah, I'm telling you, be Michal Shabbos this Shabbos, the Torah's Navi. Yoliah Navi on Mount Carmel, he told the Jewish people to do Shchutei Chutz, bringing a sacrifice to God. outside the Beis HaMikdash is chayev karet. And yet, the Jews had to listen. Mount Carmel is 94 miles from the temple. Sarah, you can clock it. So offering a korban to Hashem outside the Beis HaMikdash is chayev karet. And yet the Jews listened because Eliyahu Navi told them what? B'Torah Tarat Shah, Unkelos and Pashas told us as the same thing, that Yaakov had to listen to his mother. Now, if your mother says dishonor your father, you don't listen. But if the mother says it Amar b'Nevuah, I'm telling you B'Torah's Navi, then Yaakov had no choice and he had to deceive his father. Because the Navi told him to do that. It's an amazing Rambam. Do you know, you look at Tractate Moyad Cotton, the year that the Jews completed the Bayit Rishon on the Shlomo HaMelech. That Yom Kippur, what did they do? What are you supposed to do on Yom Kippur? Supposed to fast, right? You look at Gemara Moyad Cotton, that Yom Kippur, Shlomo HaMelech told them what? This Yom Kippur, instead of what? Fasting, manja. And they had to listen because he was a Navi. If he says from now on we're feasting on Yom Kippur, he's a Navi Sheker. But he said no, Shlomo Melech is a bona fide Navi, and he said B'Torah's Nevuah not to spoil the what? The celebration of the first temple inauguration. So that Yom Kippur, they what? They feasted instead of what? Fasting. So the Rambam said, let's say a Jew would have said to Shlomo Melech, listen Shlomo Melech, I never ate on Yom Kippur in my life, I ain't going to start now. That Jew is chayiv mita b'dei shamayim. There's a pasuk in Parshas Shoftim, Elov Tishmuin. If a Navi tells you B'Torah's Nevuah, Hara'at Sha'ah, this Yom Kippur you have to eat, next Yom Kippur you'll fast, but this Yom Kippur you have to eat, and you disobey him, you're chayiv mita b'dei shamayim. Because you transgressed the word of a Navi. So what do you want from Yaakov? So what do you want from him? He was listening to his mother to deceive his father. And yet what? The Medrash Rabbah says it's payback time. It's very, very upsetting, Yehuda. Medrash Rabbah says this. It gets even more upsetting. You want to hear the rest? Yeah. We're not up to the sheets yet, but we'll get there. In Parshas Lech Lecha, it says, Vatanea Sarai, Sarah afflicted and abused Hagar. Now the beauty about the Torah is, Rabbi Yaakov Goldman, tell it like it is. All other religions, they cover up and make up fantastic lies about their heroes. He walked on water. Judaism, the only religion that tells it like it is and exposes painfully the sins of our superstars. In Parshas Lech Lecha, the Torah says, Vatanea Sarai, Sarah afflicted and abused Hagar, Vativlach B'Paneo, that she had to run away. Says the Ramban, I couldn't say this, Rabbi Abrams, I couldn't say this. The Ramban says, I'll read it to you. Chata imenu, our mother Sarah committed a sin, Ba'oni Hazeh, when she afflicted Hagar. Hagar was the mother of Ishmael. V'gam Avraham. Abraham also sinned when he allowed his wife Sarah to what? Afflict and abuse Hagar. Avraham and Sarah, the mother and father of the Jewish people, superstars. Yet the Torah does not cover up, exposes their sins. Koheles chapter 7 says, Adam ein tzadik ba'aretz, asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. Rabbi Avraham. There's no human being on the face of the earth, even Avraham and Sarah, that what? That never sin. There are no perfect people. Everybody sins, even Abraham and Sarah sin. Says the Ramban in Parshas Lech Lecha, Chata imenu, our mother Sarah sinned when she afflicted Sarah, v'gam Avraham. And Avraham also sinned, b'nichoy lasas kain, by allowing her to afflict and abuse what? Hagar. You hear this, the Ramban. V'shama Hashem el onyo. God heard her affliction and pain. V'nasa la ben. Listen to this. He wrote this in 1265. Now when he wrote this, Yehuda, in 1265, the golden age of Spain, The Arabs are not afflicting us, were they? Not in 1265. But look at the Ramban in Parshas Lech Lecha. V'shama Hashem Elonyo, God heard her affliction. V'nasan la ben, and He gave Hagar a son. Shall he para Adam? He will be a para Adam. Now, Chofetz Chaim says in Hebrew you would say Adam para. Chofetz Chaim knew Hebrew. Para Adam, says Chofetz Chaim, because the savage comes before the human being. You would say Adam para, a human being who's a savage. But no, the Torah says he will be para Adam. The savage comes before what? The human being. Abu Mamzer, our peace partner. Look what they do to each other. Well, you can imagine what they'll do to us. Look what they do to each other. ISIS and ice cream, right? The peace-loving, right? Hamas. So God gave her a son who's a para, a savage before human. Lanos b'nei Abraham v'Sarah, to afflict the children of Abraham and Sarah, b'chol minei onui, all types of affliction. Mida keneged mida. Frightening Ramban. That's why we suffer from the Arabs. But that's what the Ramban says. Very troubling and shocking statements, Yechiel, wouldn't you say? Now, the Chazal say this. There's a message there somewhere. It gets even more troubling. Please hear me out. No rotten tomatoes. This is what the Ramban is saying. So therefore, the mother of Hagar, the mother what? Of Yishmael, he's destined to afflict us with all types of afflictions, because midah keneged midah. How do you say that in English? Payback.
Goes around, comes around.
Payback. So Abraham and Sarah afflicted the mother of Arafat. So God gave us an Arafat, the para, before the Adam, to afflict us, says the Ramban, with all types of terrible afflictions. Now, when he wrote this, the Arabs are not afflicting us. Looks like he has Ruach HaKodesh, Parashas Lech Lecha, the holy Ramban, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman. Very troubling, shocking statements, Rabbi Abraham. Wouldn't you say that? Troubling and shocking. But it gets even more troubling. It gets even more troubling. In Parshas Vayishlach, remember when Yaakov was about to meet Esav after how many years? Many years. 22 plus, right? And Rashi says he presented all of his sons, but he forgot to present Dinah. So Rashi said he hid Dinah in a chest. He didn't want Esav to what? See her. Says Rashi in Parshas Vayishlach. You can look it up, Genesis 32. I couldn't say this on my own, Sarah. Nenash Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov was punished. Shemana Dinah Me'ochiv. He held back Dinah. He hid Dinah. He didn't want his brother to see Dinah. Why didn't he want his brother to see Dinah? She'tachzirenu lemutav. Dinah was such a tzadekis, he hid his Reb Chanoch, that wild Esav would have what? Done Teshuvah. Yaakov didn't want that. V'niflo b'yat Shechem. Therefore, he didn't give it to Esav. Therefore, she fell into the hands of what? Gold, Shechem. You know, she got kidnapped and raped. That's a payback, because Yaakov was happy that Esav remained a Rasha. Incredible, Rashi. So he shines. If Esav also becomes a tzaddik, then I'm not so special. Rabbi Avraham, it's frightening. Rashi, Parshas Vayishlach, because Yaakov knew that if he would have given Dinah to Esav tachzirenu lemutav. She's such a tzaddik, you listen to your wife, right? Your wife, the bino yetena, she would have made him what? A tzaddik. Yaakov didn't want that, because then he don't shine. We all shine on. If my brother is a lowlife, then I shine. But if he's a tzaddik too, Chanoch, then I'm not so special. Yaakov didn't want that. He held Dinah away from him. Therefore, Nebuch, she fell into the hands of what? Shechem, kidnap and rape. You don't think that's troubling and shocking?
You think that Yaakov must be much...
But you see that the Torah, there are no cover-ups. Tell it like it is. It gets even more troubling. Today's Ta'anis Esther, so we can be troubled. It gets even more troubling, Golda. This is my own opinion. American Reform rabbis, with their obnoxious behavior and their support for civil liberties of Muslims pouring to the United States, they create a climate that allows terrorists to thrive. The American people hate that. Maybe that's why there's so much anti-Semitism in the United States. They see these liberal Jews, so-called open-minded Jews. They're so open-minded that their brains fell out. Progressive, right? Demonstrating for civil liberties for Muslims. American people think that creates a climate that allows terrorists to thrive. Perhaps this causes a backlash against what? Against Jews, perhaps. In Galut, a Jew has to keep a low profile. You're in Galut. You're in Teaneck, New Jersey. You think you belong there? You're in Galut. The Golden Medina. Keep a low profile. What are you making trouble for? Demonstrating against the United States government, blocking traffic. Do you think the Goyim will like you for that? They'll hate you even more. We make our own tzaros. Now let's get to the most troubling statement of all. And therefore I made a copy, otherwise you'll think I'm off the wall. Now we're ready to go to our source sheets here. Amalek, how to make enemies. This is from Tractate Sanhedrin 99b. You see that? Did the patriarch's rejection of a ger result in the birth of Amalek? You hear this? Now, if Ruth came to convert today, Yechiel, a go-go dancer from Moab, you think she'd be accepted today? I hope so. But I doubt it very highly. Moab made Las Vegas look like a kindergarten. Yeah, but Moab? You know who Ruth was? I say go-go dancer, but I don't want to say. But her background was not the most moral. And yet she became a Georgius, and she became the grandmother of what? David Amalek. I don't know about today. I hope so. I don't know about today. But that's very bizarre. Couldn't God find a Beis Yaakov girl to be the grandmother of David Amalek? Dafka go-go dancer from Moab? Shelley, what's the message over here? Very strange. The message is that in Judaism, I don't care what you wore or where you come from. Right? What are you now? It's now or never. What? One minute. Let's talk. I don't care who Ruth was before. I don't care who your mother, your father was, your background. The devil made me do it. Come from the wrong side of the track. Don't cop out. Who did Yeshua ben Nun marry? Rachav Hazonah. Couldn't find a Beis Yaakov girl. Rachav Hazonah. It's been incredible, right? And she became the ancestress of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. Again, what couldn't you find a Beis Yaakov girl? So Judaism does not discriminate, or should not discriminate. Unfortunately, I don't care who you are or where you come from. No one can cop out and say, I'm too far behind the 8 ball, Avi. I can never get out of the discotheque. I'm too far gone. There's no hope for me. Cop out. Look at Rachav Hazonah, the ancestors of Yirmiyahu. Look at Ruth, the go-go dancer from Moab, the grandmother of the Mashiach. What a powerful message. That what? I don't have to remain in the disco. I can turn my life around no matter what I did in the past. See, Satan says, don't even try. That's Satan's trap. Fall into Yush, despair. Nachman Bledsoe says, despair is not a sin, but it's the worst sin. Because if I fall into despair, Sarah, it doesn't matter what I do. So why do anything? Doesn't matter anyway. I'm too far gone. So Rachav Hazona and Ruth, they are the role model. You can turn your life around. You don't have to remain what you were yesterday. Wow. But anyway, let's get back to the topic over here. Look at this Gemara, very strange, okay? Help me out over here, please. You have that on the left side. The Gemara continues with the story of Timna. You have that, Rabbi Abraham? 99b, yes? The Gemara continues the story of Timna. Who was Timna? Timna wanted to convert to the faith of Abraham. Timna. Timna was a princess. She wanted to convert to the faith of Abraham. She came to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov for that purpose. Right? Now look at footnote 29. It would seem impossible that Timna actually came to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. She was Eliphaz's daughter. Rather, the Gemara means, footnote 29, Timna sought to attach herself to the descendants of Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Right? V'loi kiblua, back in the text, you have Yechiel. But they did not accept her as a convert. They rejected her. Halcha v'hoitel pelegesh Eliphaz ben Esav. Therefore, she went and became what? A concubine to Eliphaz, the son of Esav. She was a princess. She wanted to attach herself to the Jewish people. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov rejected her. So therefore, she said what? Mutav. You have that text, Yechiel. Mutav shetei shivchum. I'd rather be a maidservant, a slave, a sex slave. I don't want to say the word. To this nation, v'loitei gevira luma acheret, than to be a princess to any other nation. Look at note 30. You have it, Elisheva? Note 30. You have it underlined? Timna, a princess, felt it was better to marry into the family of the patriarchs than to retain her royal status in another nation. You have that, note 30. She therefore accepted the lowly rank of concubine, which she euphemistically called a maidservant, to Eliphaz, because Eliphaz happened to be what? The grandson of Yitzchak Avinu. You hear this? So she married Eliphaz, didn't marry him, she became like a mistress. Nofak mino Amalek. Who came from this union?
Wow.
Amalek, Hitler, who distressed Israel so greatly. My Tama. See, my Tama, what does that mean? Rabbi Avram, you have that? For what reason was Amalek able to cause so much anguish and pain to the Jewish people until today? Now, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik says something incredible. Amalek is not a particular nation. Chaim Soloveitchik, in 1902, says, Amalek, if you know any non-Jew who hates you more than he loves his own life, that's Amalek. Was he a Navi? If you know any non-Jew whose hatred for the Jewish people is stronger than his love for his own life, that's Amalek. That's our peace partners. Yeah. Right? Because when they blow themselves up, the mother of the terrorist says she wishes that all of her children would what? Commit suicide to kill Jews. That means they hate us more than they love their own children. Chaim Soloveitchik says that's Amalek. Isn't that incredible? So why was he allowed to what? To cause such anguish and pain? What did the Jews, what'd you say, sir?
I just said it's called Schadenfreude.
It's called what?
It's a German term, Schadenfreude. It means you enjoy the pain of others more than you want your own benefit.
Well, their hatred for us is stronger than the love. Can you please close that, please? What sin did the Jewish people commit that caused us to suffer so greatly at the hands of Amalek? Yeah. So what does the Gemara answer? I don't want to read the answer because you might throw tomatoes at me.
Read it, Rabbi.
It was because Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov should not have rejected Timna. Yes? Because the patriarchs refused. You are looking at this? The patriarchs refused to accept her as a convert. God caused their descendants, us, to suffer at the hands of her descendants.
Who was Timna?
Timna was a pagan princess who wanted to convert to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They rejected her.
Did they say why?
Why did they reject her? Footnote 31. Footnote 31.
I'm just wondering, who was she, though?
She was a pagan princess.
But we don't know any more than that?
Well,
Okay.
Says she was Eliphaz's daughter.
but that was after the fact. But when 31. Why did the patriarchs reject Timna after having converted what? So many other pagans. The Rif explains that Timna was illegitimate, born of adulterous union between the wife of Seir and Eliphaz, as Maddie mentioned. The patriarchs therefore refused to accept Timna as a convert because a mamzer is forbidden to marry an ordinary Jew. But there was no such thing as Judaism then.
Yeah.
But if the patriarchs acted so wisely, why were we punished that we have to suffer from Arafat? Rif explains that even though our forebearers could never sanction Timnas marrying an ordinary Jew, the Ava should have allowed her to come closer to God by joining what? People. Yalkut Amiri, you have that? Suggests that the patriarchs were aware that Timna was primarily motivated by her desire to marry into Abraham's family. However, Jewish law rejects those who wish to convert in order to what? Marry a Jew. But they should have done it with more sensitivity.
How could she?
They rejected her, so her shame, her resentment turned to what? Hate. And she passed on that hate to her son Arafat. In the mother's milk. Isn't that incredible? Frightening, shocking. Rejecting a ger, not being sensitive to a ger. If you can't accept him, be sensitive. Do it in a loving way. Not to be cruel and to be what? Coarse. And to give them the runaround. The Gemara in Sanhedrin 99 says, rejecting a ger brought Arafat. Because the shame that the mother suffered, her resentment turned to hate, and she passed it on to her son. Very frightening. Maddie, you had something to say?
If she's Eliphaz's daughter,
Right.
how does she become his concrete?
Because in those days, that's what they did. All in the family. All in the family. That's what it. But it's a frightening. First of all, a goy has no yichus. This is before Matan Torah. Very frightening. What? So what should we make of this? Yechiel, I'm asking you. So if we would have treated Timna right, then we wouldn't have Arafat. Well, where do you draw the line? Elisheva, I'm very upset about this. I'm upset. What? Don't publicize this.
No, we shouldn't repeat that behavior of
What?
rejecting
Yeah.
sincere people.
Exactly, Yechiel. That's the message. The Talmud is not history, Chanoch. We have to know how to talk to all people, even pagans, to speak to them with respect and dignity, not to dismiss them, not to be cruel to them, impolite, because what we do has what? Repercussions. It ain't over till it's a frightening Gemara. A frightening Gemara that this Gemara over here, the how to make enemies, right? To be sensitive and courteous to a ger. Even if you can't accept them, don't brush them off like they were what? Garnished. Because that instilled hatred into Timna. And she passed that on to her descendants. And the Chama was still paying for that today. Rabbi Abrams is very upsetting. Very upsetting.
Rabbi,
Yes.
It doesn't say they were not polite to her. It doesn't say they were nasty to her. It doesn't say they didn't try to be sweet to her.
Yeah, well, look at footnote 31. What does it
They
say?
didn't accept her.
They should what?
They just didn't accept her
Because what?
of various reasons.
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding. She was such an evil lady, she gave birth to Adolf Hitler.
So why does the Talmud blame?
Wait, that shows some really genetic foul play that
Yeah.
smelled in them. A normal person, I deal with lots of gay men. They don't want to become neo-Nazis.
Right.
They don't get accepted the first time in the rabbi.
Okay.
They don't go out and become mass murderers. I produce my little baby miniature Adolf Hitler. So something's corrupt in those.
So why does the Talmud?
Corrupted the Jewish people.
I agree, but why does the Talmud blame the Avot? Blame the victim.
It's giving us Musar.
Blame the victim. Talmud blames Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov.
It's giving us Musar. We can learn something from it.
What do you learn? What do you learn? Help me.
You learn Deuteronomy 17. Who you follow if you have a question?
Yeah, the rabbis. Right.
Who were the rabbis? Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. They were Gedolei.
And yet they made a terrible mistake. And they made a terrible mistake. Who's bigger than Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? They made a terrible mistake.
It had ramifications.
Now
It would have been worse.
I'll leave the best for last. The Dibros Moshe. I should have copied it, Rabbi Abrams, when I didn't. The Dibros Moshe, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. I'll read it to you. He says, why were they punished? Why were the others punished? Why were we punished? She wanted to convert because she saw Mido. I'm reading from Moshe Feinstein, Dibros Moshe. She saw a midos toivim meisim toivim. She saw that the Jewish people have midot tovot. So even though she didn't care about the religion, she wanted to attach herself to a people that have midot tovot like Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they rejected her because they saw that she was insincere. And yet, says Moshe, they were punished. Now Amalek came out. What do we see from here? I'll read it in Hebrew. The gam haba b'shvil zel hitgayer shadayin lo yikira munas Hashem kol. A person wants to convert, even though he doesn't believe in God yet. But why does he come to convert? Because he sees the Jewish people have what? Midat tovot. She didn't believe in God. But she came, she wanted to attach herself to a people that is so kind and generous. Who's more kind and generous than the Jewish people? We treat our enemies in the Syrian front. Who would do? Would Syrians would treat us? How would the Syrians act to us, right? And we treat them. So, Tzrichel Legairo, said Moshe Feinstein, even though she didn't believe in God yet, she came because she wants to attach herself to a people that is so kind and generous and giving. When there's a tsunami in Haiti, who's the first there, Golda? Tsunami in Haiti, who's the first there? Israel. That's why tsunami, whatever it was. Tzricha legaira. You hear this, Moshe? You have to convert her. Who gave us Gemurah? Are you listening? This is Moshe. I should have copied it. Gave it Gemurah, even though she doesn't believe in God, but she sees the goodness of the Jewish people. Geirit Gemurah, says Moshe Feinstein, Dibros Moshe. The Geirut Kazeh, Hoshayich Af Belo Yoda Shim Davar. Hear this? It's called a good Geirus, even though she doesn't know anything. Avol Bo Lid Gayer. So why is she coming? Sherotze Liot Miklal Yisrael. Shemaseyim Tovim. She sees how good the Jewish people are. Umidaseyin Tovim, if that's all she wanted, even though she didn't believe in God yet, Tzorech Lekablo. You have to what? This is Moshe Feinstein writing. But some people say, don't confuse me with the facts.
So what do you say? That we should
They should have accepted her
accepted her as a convert?
as a convert. The person comes to convert even though he doesn't believe in God. But he sees how different and special we are, how kind and generous and giving we are. If that's all why a ger comes, tzorech lekablo. Yiddish, Evelyn. Once we accept them, then we have to let them know the mitzvot. Yeah. So they made a terrible mistake. They rejected her because she didn't believe in God. And we're still paying for it today. Incredible. Very upsetting, Chanoch. I agree with you. But the great Moshe Feinstein, who's bigger than him, so a person comes to convert, even though he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't know nothing, he just wants to attach himself to a nation like Israel. Right? Whenever there's a disaster all over the world, who's first on the ground?
Israel.
Who's first on the ground with the medical team? Israel. That's why you want to convert? That's a valid reason. Accept her. And Moshe Feinstein is talking. But some people say, don't confuse me with the facts. My mind's made up. Before we go, I'll leave you with a story. There was a guest in my shul from New York last week, and the Rabbi wanted to give him an aliyah. So the Rabbi asked him his name. He said his name is Sarah Bas Rivka. So the Rabbi asked him, are you ligbit? Ligbit, lesbian, gay, bisexual. He looked normal, a normal guy, you know. He says, I'm not ligbit. He says, ligbit stands for Lubavitch, ger, bells, and tells. I'm not ligbit. So why are you Sarah Bas Yaakov? Sarah Bas Rivka? He says, my lawyer told me for a tax refund, put everything in my wife's name. Paid to come just for that. The second double feature is 3:45. Esther, is sin a virtue? Is sin a virtue? It's 3:45. Esther committed adultery. She was married to Mordechai. It looks like sin is a virtue. It's 3:45. Any questions or comments, Maddie? You got a question? What?
Where is the Divrei Moshe?
Yeah, I can copy it. I'll go upstairs and make a copy. It's a Dibrat Moshe. Tov Kof Chof Aleph. I'll make a copy. Beseder? Any questions? Matt, you got a question? What?
Why did she have to convert if you knew who her mother and her father?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who your mother and your father. It doesn't matter. It's what I am. I don't care where I came from or what even I was before. Doesn't matter. What are you now? What are you now? Right? I don't care what you were. It's what you are now. That's what matters in Judaism.
You know, we are taking care of the wounded Syrian kids
Right.
up north.
That's right. Would they do the same for us?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, why was Abraham punished about Hagar?
Right.
When Hashem said, listen to Sarah.
That's right.
He said, listen to Sarah.
You're right.
So,
Why was he punished? Huh? Listen to Sarah. Kick her out.
That's right.
I say it's very troubling. I'm asking for help.
Well, it was Howie kicked her out.
How he kicked her out? What?
Just a little canteen of water.
Yeah, he should have hired what? A
Caravan.
taxi with him. What?
Yeah.
At least a taxi.
Caravan.
Right? Bread and water. Just kick her out.
That's true. Should have been better.
It's food for thought. Now, you can't eat today, but food for thought. How to treat every human being with dignity and respect to every human being. The Rambam, give me 2 minutes. The Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim says something amazing. You know, the Torah is God's GPS, Rabbi Abraham. The Torah is God's GPS. Why does the Torah spend so many stories about Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? No mitzvahs are there. The Torah is GPS. So why tell me the stories of Yaakov, Avraham, Yitzchak, how they interacted with the pagans? To learn that how they treated pagans, except Timna. But other pagans, they treated them with dignity and respect. And that's their Echeret Kodma Torah. And once they slipped, they paid a terrible price. But besides Timna, you look how they interact with the pagans of their day. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, how they speak to the pagans with respect and dignity. It says the Rambam, Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. It's not history, it's GPS. to give every person, no matter who he is or what he is, the proper courtesy, dignity, and respect. Some people forget that. And when Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov forgot it, they forgot it, we're still paying the terrible price today. That's the whole point.
I don't think it was the conversion as much as the way
they rejected her.
They rejected
Yeah.
her. And
But Moshe Feinstein says they had no right rejecting her. They had no right to reject her. Gerut Gemurah, he says. Even when she doesn't know anything, even though she doesn't believe in God.
They should have encouraged her to convert.
Right?
They should have encouraged her.
Yeah.
But the way they treated her
The way they
caused
treated
her
not-
to nurse hatred. Right?
I can see
Who
that.
needs you anyway? I want to join you. I'll show you. What did Groucho Marx say? Any club that wants me as a member, I'm not going to join. Right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Isn't it a halacha that if somebody asks to convert, discourage them?
3 times. Okay, but she must have asked more than 3 times. And even the 3 times you have to do it with kindness. Not to be rude about it. Do it with kindness and courtesy. It's amazing. The superstar slipped up. The Talmud blames all 3, right? Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Nafek minei Amalek. Now we're still paying the price. So you have to be sensitive and courteous to every human being, and especially to a prospective convert. If you are cruel to a convert, you get 36 averot. If you're cruel to any person, you get 1 avera. If you're cruel to a convert, the Rambam says you get 36 averot. And if you're kind to a convert, buy 1, get 36. Right? Jews love bargains. The Rambam, based on Gemara Bava Metzia 59, if you're kind to a convert, buy 1, get 36. 36
was
mitzvot.
a prospective convert.
So even if they had to turn her away, there was a way to do it. There's a way to do it. 3:45, we meet again on...
I was given an answer why Mordecai didn't give Esther.
All right, we'll talk about it later. 3:45 is Esther is sinning a virtue. Cliffhanger. Don't try this at home. 3:45. Thank you very much.